I'm going to call the meeting to order at this point and try to keep an eye on the rest of the room. Just to make everyone aware, I'll just say it again. I said it a couple times already as people coming in. We did have an issue with a Zoom bomb situation Wednesday at the public safety meeting. So I'm a little more, concerned about who's coming in the room and stuff. But I'm still trying to, I'm not trying to make it difficult for the public to listen in as far as what's going on either. So I think we have, looks like one person that's here that I'm not, Charles Warrington, who is probably one of the owner rep types. I'm not sure if he came in with the link or with, on the phone number. So everyone should be coming, anyone that's not part of the committee should be here coming in by phone. So that's the only thing, by dialing in. So all right, I'm going to call the meeting to order. Again, it's 6:34. We do have a quorum present. I'd look for a motion for approval of the minutes from the October 27th special meeting.
So
Mark.
moved.
I'll second that. Bill Hall.
Peter, and second by Bill Hull. Peter Gauthier, second by Bill Hull. Any additions, corrections, or deletions from the minutes as presented?
A couple. First paragraph 4 towards the bottom of the page, it says Alderman Benencourt responded the committee, I think it should be 2019, was not insensitive to the idea. And we don't tell them what the idea is, which I think is the location of a school in the eastern section of the city.
That's a good point, yeah.
Okay.
That would be more complete. Catherine, if you just add that.
And then on the second page, Alderman Benencourt stated about a third of the way down that was correct. Christine D'Estachio asked that what the minimum number of students required was in order to be reimbursed. And again, what the subject is. I actually don't recall what the subject was.
Was that what we were trying to talk about, how many seats we were trying to create? Wasn't that the issue? Which is really all going to be dependent on the enrollment report. So
I think it was, it was to get the reimbursement that we needed.
Yeah, but I think that's all like I said, that's all going to be dependent on,
Right.
what the enrollment study is like.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I asked. I didn't know the answer.
Yeah.
So.
So Catherine, if we could spruce that up a little bit.
I can. I mean, I do believe that it's within the context of that paragraph. The only thing to keep in mind is that to a degree it is trying to paraphrase it and not doing,
Yeah, we don't require a deposition here, especially because we're not talking about any action taken. So.
But I'll try to revise it to be more clear than I thought it was. But also, if everyone could please say their name before they speak, that's all.
Thank you. Yeah, like she said.
But a little further down on the page, it says Gerald Martin asked how many. It says yeast, and I think it means years.
One typo, okay.
Seventh line up from the bottom, it says Christine D'Estachio stated she was, it says lended. I think we mean leaning.
I don't have an independent recollection of that, so I'm not sure. But based on the context, I'd say you're probably right.
Right. We need a little bit on, so turning the page halfway down, already in control of multiple properties, although it was not everything needed. Is there something more to clarify that?
I don't know.
No. Okay.
And that reminds me about something else. I have, I will tell you, I have some issues with email lately in that I'm getting stuff because of the nature of this committee and my involvement with it, and then my position as an elected official, all right, which are two different things. So I try to use my personal account for a lot of this committee business, but I found I've had to use both because people send me stuff to the other account. So just so anybody knows, if you send me something, probably it's best to use both accounts, especially if you think it's something that's going to have to be forwarded or anything like that. The reason for that is because once my term is up, should I decide not to run for anything again or whatever, I am going to probably petition the city council to remain on the committee. Should that happen, because I am on the committee as a result of my elected office currently. So just so everybody understands that. Not that I'm saying I'm not going to run for anything or whatever, who knows, but I just want to make that situation clear. Where are we? So anything else on the minutes? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Or raising your hand or something, waving. Ditto. Any opposed? Seeing none, the minutes as amended are passed unanimously. Is there any public comment? We got some people waiting in here, and let me get them in. So, is there any public comment regarding the business of the committee? I'll ask again, is there any public comment? Just raise your hand electronically or unmute yourself and chime in, and we'll work it out. Again, for the third time, is there any public comment? Hearing none, public comment is now closed. So discussion, path going forward. So we've got to have a little talk about this because this is a point of, I think, some confusion as far as how we're going to go from here. So there's certainly a lot of interest by the companies that do the construction manager, not construction manager type, the coordinators type work, owner's rep type work. And I think there's maybe some value there. It ultimately will need somebody in that role. The question is whether that gets done now, or is the first thing we do is to look for an architect. The second piece was the fact that I think I have to apologize because I'm a little off my game lately. It's not been a good last couple weeks. And I'm trying to find the email. Pat McLaughlin sent me, so we had a discussion shortly after the meeting, the last meeting, regarding the old Greenville school site. So initially we had discounted that, but part of the issue with that site was there is an adjacent piece of city-owned property to that site that actually even runs out to Boswell. So which would improve access to the site, and the total size of the lot is decent, but there are topography issues. So, that would, have to consider. So that would be a possibility. I think that's something we're going to, as far as having city-owned property, and that'll be something we'll have to research.
Mark, can I chime in, please?
Sure, go.
Okay, so just for everybody's information, the former site of the Greenville School is 12.3 acres.
Right,
And then we own an additional 2.5 acres or 2.1 acres that abuts it and has access from Boswell Avenue.
correct.
I had Deanna Rhodes get me a map of city-owned properties that are larger than 5 acres. And believe it or not, the city does not own too much land anywhere that could be used for a site of a new school. There is a piece of property behind the Senior Citizen Center that the city owns. I don't have the acreage on it, but it's a fairly large piece of land and it abuts Mohegan Park. But other than that,
It's
we
not,
really-
it's not part of the park proper though, is it?
no, it's not.
Okay.
No, it's not.
But doesn't that have its own topography issues?
Well, we may have some topography issues there. I didn't ask her about topography. I was just simply trying to find if we
Yeah,
had
like-
other
Like it's
pieces
solid
of
rock
land.
going uphill?
Well, and I don't know if it, if we want to put another school that's so close to Kelly, but
Yeah.
I don't think we should discount the Greenville school site too fast.
Yeah,
'Cause it is one of the larger plots of land that we own, and it certainly is big enough. If Moriarty's on 14 acres, certainly we could get a school again in there on 12.
yeah, so that's, I think there may be something to that, so. I'm certainly gonna be, I think that's, for right now, anyway, that should be at least a working theory, pending an evaluation by an architect or something like that. So, I mean, we had a school on that property before. We know there's room to build a school building. Is there room enough to build a school building large enough and all that we would need? I mean, there's enough property there. I would want to use the abutting property to create additional access, and basically a traffic flow through that area that would certainly, I mean, one of the biggest things, I mean, the old Greenville School, if those of you that know the area, I mean, you have one way in, one way out, and it was a narrow residential neighborhood streets there, and it wasn't, exactly the prettiest way to get into a site, so to speak. And everything would get jammed up in there. It wasn't a
Right,
large
but we have
school.
access from Boswell Avenue. We
Right,
have another
exactly,
2
so-
acres.
Yeah, so you could come in through Boswell, do your drops and whatever else, and have the traffic flow right out. So, and come back out. So, just a thought. So, we're obviously, I'm sure that's something that, they would do one way. Greg,
Is that entrance on Boswell near 7th Street, or is it closer down towards, for Boswell?
it's- Closer to Hickory.
yeah,
Closer to Hickory. Okay, I'm just looking at a map right now and just trying to see where the access point is without going through somebody's home, but
no,
Okay.
no, it wouldn't. I think there's enough, that lot is big enough to at least put a road through.
okay, thank you.
Not absolutely positive, but of course, could be other issues. I don't know about wetlands and stuff like that. I know
No,
some of
there's
that.
no wetlands on there.
On
Deanna,
on the adjacent lot, what about the 12? I'm pretty sure there's stuff on the 12 acres though.
well, Deanna would have put that on and there is
She doesn't
no
have anything
issue.
on there? Okay.
No,
Good.
Well, if I could just interject,
Go
I
ahead, Matt.
know there's wetlands on the 12-acre site.
You know there is?
Yeah, they may not show up on the city GIS mapping, but there's definitely very wet areas back there.
All right. But I'm pretty sure there's enough buildable
Yeah,
land to,
Upland.
to do something with. All right, so that's something that we'll, I think, as a committee is probably our best working theory right now. So, and I think that would address a lot of the issues we have as far as the geographical locations, the geographical locations of yeah, Greg's laughing, there you go. So the geographical locations of the schools that the old Facilities Review Committee had for concerns. So so I think we should probably, I would like to hear from the committee as far as what their opinions might be of that particular situation. I know this is the first time some of you are hearing of this. Anyone?
What are you asking? You asking, do
Well,
we
I'm
want
asking an
to pick
opinion.
a
I don't know
lot
if-
first, or
yeah.
do we want to look at an architect first? I mean, what are you asking here?
Well, no, I'm asking about the, because I think part of the objection first was that we really had no plan going forward as far as where a school was going to go. So if this piece of property is going to work or has a decent chance of working, then okay, that's at least a possibility. It's something for us to research and take a look at. So that means we need some, we'll need some professional help to do that. So that means we bring in, I think you bring in an architect at that point.
Or what I say Superintendent Stringfellow said about a projection of what the student level is going to be, so we can figure out an approximate square footage?
All right, the facilities committee had, I think, Stacy, correct me if I'm wrong, a max number of like 600 students.
Let me just
For a
see
new
if I have
school?
it here. It may have been 650.
Yeah, I don't have it in front of me. I'm sorry. I know it's in that range, so
650. So how many classrooms do you need for
300 to
600?
600. I think 300 to 600 is in my head. It really was going to depend on everything else. But we're obviously going to have to do an enrollment study before, you know, we submit an approval plan and all that kind of stuff.
So Mark, Chris DeStacio, should we be starting with the enrollment study, or is it hire the architect?
I think you hire the architect, and the architect or whoever sublets the enrollment study.
Okay.
All right. How many classrooms do you need for school for 700 students?
6. That's a joke, yes. She's
600?
She's not laughing, yeah.
Oh,
We figure
700.
20 to 22 a class, in class at the most, so.
Hi, this is Matt, the facility supervisor. You're looking at like a Kelly-sized school for that.
Yeah.
Whoa. You'd have to get, I mean, the Greenville site, wow, to put a school that size on there. I went to Greenville, so there was 14 classrooms and 2 kindergartens on top of that. And there wasn't much space left after that.
Right.
Yeah, so we had
A
250
school
or
is small.
maybe 200 to 300 students there.
Yeah.
All right, Joe is here. I think he's the only voting member missing.
I mean, unless you went like 4 stories or something.
No, but you could go 2, or for part of it 2.
No, that's what I'm saying. It had 2 stories and it had 14 classrooms. And then it had 2 kindergartens that were actually on a 3rd floor. A step down.
I think that was part of the reason they wanted to tear it down. I mean, among a myriad of other things, was because of the layout and what it was going to take to redo it. But if we start from scratch, we should be able to address those issues. So, and if there's enough land, and we can, Joe, we were, just to get you, we were talking about the possibility of siting the school and siting the new school at the Greenville School. There's 12 acres there from the old school site, actually. And then there's also an adjacent parcel that the city owns that runs out to Boswell that, you know, we could use for access. So that's a real possibility. I think the total would be pushing 15 acres.
Let's look at, I'm looking at the list and Stacy's got her hand raised. I don't know.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I got too many people in here. Go ahead, Stace.
No.
Try that. Did you not want to say anything? There you go. You gotta link
So,
this. going.
yeah, so, you know, and I apologize for being late, work commitment, but,
Oh, that one.
and I'm sure that you probably discussed this, but that site, I mean, on a map, it looks like there's a lot of property there, but it's a tough site. Topographically, it's a tough site. There's a
Yeah,
lot
that was
of
my.
ledge and so on, yeah.
Yeah. But if you're gonna start from scratch, you might be able to do something with it. So.
Hey, Mark, this is Greg.
Mark,
If we don't know the number of students, because we don't have the enrollment study, how can we start looking at schools? As a first step, I think we should do the enrollment study, even if it's a separate thing without an architect.
No, well, what happens is the new school will determine, you know, the composition of the rest of the project, to be honest with you.
Okay.
So I think you need to take a look and see what you can fit on that site and then, you know, and then work it from there. But the enrollment study will be part of that whole situation too, though. That'll be required from the state regardless, so.
Mark, Christine DeStacio, I'm just wondering, that site, you know, everybody's talking about this access road from Boswell. I mean, I think it needs to be, of course it would be by the architect, be looked at much more closely, because, you know, any turning, Boswell, I mean, if it's closer to Hickory Street, I'm just thinking of how much road you need for turning, like for buses accessing wherever that entry point is. But I mean, there's and I know, like Joe just mentioned, the topography, but I know that's another consideration. You have to have a real clear access area as far as all the rules, as far for bus turning.
Yeah.
And plus a sidewalk, of course. So I'm just putting that out
Again,
there.
you can create that. That's not a.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, it's all residential. Otherwise, you know, there's stores there. I really would like to know where that land is. That's the access point on that side. That's what I mean, because it's tight there.
It's if you come up Boswell Avenue and you come all the way to the top, you get to the highest elevation point. It's probably 50 yards from the peak.
So where Hickory Street is?
No, this is Boswell Avenue. So you pass Mohegan Park Road, coming up Boswell Avenue from Greenville.
Oh, coming from that way, right?
Yep, you pass Mohegan Park Road.
Yeah.
And then you go up and you go maybe and then there's a little bit more of a rise to the top of Boswell Avenue.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yep. So just before you get to the top there and crest it, that's where the land is, because there's actually
where it's hilly right there. Yeah.
Yep. Because there's a cut path through there that actually, when I was a kid, we would walk into school.
Oh wow, yeah. Because my nephew and niece went to Greenville, and they lived on East Baltic Street, so they probably would do that too sometimes. All right, okay. I'm gonna have to drive by there. Thank you for that information.
Joe, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I just wondered, and again, apologize for coming in late, but I'm thinking back to the last meeting and the meeting before that. I guess my question is, and I don't mean this to be, I don't mean to put too much of a sharp point on this, but it doesn't seem to me that we're coming up with any resolution to what's our batting order of tasks? What do we need to do first? What do we need to do after that? And write down, even if it's just the next 3 things that we need to do, and then work towards getting those things in progress. And
I was just trying to eliminate an objection that we had because we really didn't have even a one site idea. So
So I think,
hang on.
so I think relative to that comment, my comment would be, I think the first thing we should do is, what are our options? So what properties fit or have the potential to fit us? And so, are there really only Greenville and Stanton that have footprint?
Moriarty.
Well, I mean, Moriarty can be expanded, understood that, but I'm just saying for a new school. How can we get a list of options?
Mark, if I can interject as
Go
a
ahead, Bill.
whole, one of the things I think you need to do is bring in the expertise of an architect, because they will guide you
Yep.
through all of this. You're projecting things that's not our level of expertise. And one of the things you need to do is get an architect in who will guide you, say, that piece of property will be fine, that piece of property has these problems. But without that guidance, it's in a sense above our pay grade of what we have to do here. So, and then to do that, you need an RFP, and then there's no sense of having an RFP unless you have a way of funding it. So, has this been approved by anybody to spend? An architect going to cost you for the initial round anywhere from $80,000 to $100,000, depending on what you're asking it to do. That's just for the initial round. They will do the enrollment studies, or at least steer you in the way of doing an enrollment study. But to me, the first thing you need is an architect, somebody to hold your hand and walk through this.
Yeah, so I mean, there's also, the concept of, bringing in an owner's rep also at this point. So that's something I did want to discuss. And I'm not strong. I mean, an architect's going to have to come in regardless. So.
Hey, Mark.
Yeah.
Mark, this is Bob Castronova, the purchasing agent.
Yep.
And this is just my 2 cents worth. I'm not a voting member or anything, but from my perspective, I think we should look at getting an owner's rep in, because it looks like, at least it seems to me, that there's probably 2 or 3 different moving pieces that we're going to have to do concurrently, simultaneously. And rather than having, we're going to need an owner's rep. Bottom line, we're going to need someone to guide us through this whole process of what the state requires. So if we got an owner's rep on board, they could go out under our auspices, hire an architect. They could also get somebody to do the enrollment study. They could, I feel, and I'm not that I'm an expert, but I feel that they would be able to help us, guide us through the process. And what steps do we need to take first? What do we need to look at? We're tossing around a lot of where would we put this, and there's other pieces involved, like what are we going to do with other schools, and how big are they going to be? Are we closing schools? Are you renovating schools? So you've got a lot of moving pieces. If you're going to get an architect just to look at the construction of the new school, that's not the whole project. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So just my 2 cents. That's all.
Yeah. I mean, there's obviously, we're just talking about the very beginning of the first phase, so at this point, so that's the truth of the matter. What's going to be many phases. Heather, you wanted to say something?
Mark, yeah, please, just keep me honest. But I think in the last, I know it's pretty easy because I'm usually honest. I think in the last meeting, I thought we had checked with the state of Connecticut and their advice was to start with an architect.
Yes.
But I'm trying to read my notes and listen at the same time.
Yeah,
so.
but, you know, there are, I'm going to tell you that I think there could be some advantages in bringing in an owner's rep at this point. So where we'll get guidance on, you know, I think we'll get more direction as far as where the direction we should be going and making those contacts with the state and doing all that stuff. And to be honest with you, I think it would take some stress off the NPS staff also as far as how this project moves forward, you know. So that's, you know, my thoughts on the matter, you know, so as far as that goes. But again, if not now, it's going to be later. So at this point, though, you know, we should either be thinking of at least one or the other. So
Mark, can I weigh in for just a minute? This is Kristen.
certainly.
So Kristen Stringfellow, superintendent. In Rhode Island, you would start with the owner's project manager. And I, on behalf of the committee, if you recall, last month reached out to the Department of Education, who put me in touch with Costas at OPM, and they said very unequivocally, step one is in Connecticut is start with an architect engineering firm, and they come out and you have to hire them, and it might be higher than what Mr. Hull described for such a large project. The cost might be higher, and then they come out and assess all of your buildings. So there were a lot of assumptions made in terms of enrollment and accessibility, and can we put 2 floors and 3 floors and 5 floors, and how much swampland and environmental and ledge, and the architect does ledge boring and drilling, and they'll tell you precisely what the enrollment capacity would be, and they do site visits to each of your sites to let you know, given the new current rules and regulations about how schools are built in terms of spaces, in terms of handicap accessibility. So for example, a school that is set up like Waquanic could not be built in 2020. A central office that is set up like our central office would not be permitted to be built in 2020, just purely because of handicap accessibility and room size. Room sizes at UNCUS would not be permitted to be
Ridiculously
built.
narrow stairwells and
Correct.
bad
And
pitches
so,
and no
you know,
elevators and-
those are considerations that, you know, haven't been looked at by an official person, not, of course, you have all spent a great deal of time looking at that, but by someone with discrete knowledge of the current regulations and in quite some time, as I understand it. And that'll take a while. So it'll take a while after the RFP to figure out how are you going to interview these folks? What are the interview questions you're going to ask? Is it important that on their team they have an enrollment forecaster or a visioning expert? Those are all going to be questions that the committee is going to have to wrestle with. And I just, for what it's worth, I think in your mind's eye, you can certainly keep all of this property in mind so that you can mention it to the architect. But at the end of the day, it may be not a worthwhile conversation this early in the game. Just food for thought.
Okay. All right. I think I did, you know, talk to Mr. Google last month, and it seemed to be that the architect is, generally speaking, thought of to be the first hire. Although there is some movement towards, you know, a project manager hire earlier in the process. I'm going to leave that up to the committee because I'm not strong either way, but I know the architect's gotta come. So one way or the other, either through us or through a project manager that we hire, one or the other. So how we do it, you know, I'm listening to you guys. So
Mark, this is Greg.
go ahead, Greg. You're the one with experience, Greg. So
Okay, if we're talking hiring an architect,
yeah,
you know, one of the gentlemen talked about a fee of around 80,000 to 100. An
Yeah.
architect is going to charge a minimum of $165 an hour, which is their overhead and burden. So if you're starting out with only 80,000, you're only buying about 400 hours, which is only about, if they bring a team, it's only about 3 weeks worth of work.
yeah, we're looking at basically a concept design at this point. It's really not a lot of, you know, it's I think the 10% level.
Okay, but it's a 10, but if you, again, if you're using, say, 80,000 as a budget,
Yeah.
you divide that by 165, you get 480 hours. What we're asking is quantums more than 480 hours, even at a 10% concept level.
Well, we're gonna find out. We're gonna find out when we go to bid it, I think. So I would agree with you. We do have some money in the set aside, but it's not nearly enough, I think, to really pay for the architectural services. So we'll have to deal with, the city council will have to deal with that. That's why there's 3 of us on this committee. Joe?
Thank you. So, you know, and Dr. Stringfellow, I think, can hit the nail right on the head. You know, our resource is OPM, because they're going to give us direction. The direction that we got was that our architect is the first hire. I think that we should just follow that advice, if not direction. So I will put in the form of a motion that that the committee request of the council to direct the city manager to write and publish an RFP for architectural services based on the report from the School Facilities Review Committee, with the intent of helping us, for lack of a better word, chart or map a school realignment project for the city of Norwich.
This is Heather Romansky. I will second that motion.
All right, discussion. Discussion on the motion. I think you said a mouthful there, Joe. So I mean, this is a direction. This is a good thing. So I think we're kind of running, you know, a little disjointed here. So to be honest with you, I will tell you that I'm of 2 minds on the matter. So, but I think the simplest one right now is to do the architect, because that's really where we're going to get the expertise. I certainly think we're going to be bringing a project manager in sooner rather than later, but at this initial stage, I think we're you know, we need that concept, and we need the expertise to back it up. So, and, that's where we're at. So, any other discussion?
If I may, under discussion, you know, I would say with, you know, with the firms that I have, well, you know, that I have been in.
But just Joe, tell them what your background is, just so everybody knows.
So my undergraduate degree is in architectural engineering. I worked for an engineering firm, and worked for an architecture firm here in the state of Connecticut, one of the largest architecture firms in the state, which is now has I don't know, 7 or 8 offices nationwide, and has done work overseas as well as in the state and in the United States. We have done, or they have done, I should say, I don't work there anymore. They have done projects like this. I know of firms that have done many projects like this. And so we're just having that little bit of insight. And my discussion item is that many of these larger firms that are going to be attracted to a project like this have project management in-house. So we might very well get project management as also as part of our schematic design, which is the first part of mapping out what the plan for Norwich Public Schools should be moving into the future. So we might get both as part of the, as a matter of fact, we could ask that the RFP specify that project management has to be part of what the architect provides. And then certainly we will have a firm dollar number. And it would be well within the scope of this committee to hold presentation interviews before the RFP is actually awarded. And we can make that part of it as well. So,
Well, that's normally what you've done this before, Joe. So, I mean, anyone like that, we would have to set up a interview. We would probably need a subcommittee set up once we get RFPs in, or prior to that anyway.
So
to talk about interview questions and stuff like that, so that we're all asking this, so we're asking the same questions of everybody, that kind of thing, Go ahead, Bob, you were going to say something?
well,
yeah, I was going to say, I think,
Hang on, Joe. Go ahead, Bob.
I think what we're really going to, it's going to be an RFQ, not it's going to be a request for qualifications. We're going to get a bunch of responses back. We're going to review all those packages. You are going to review all those packages. You're going to come up with some finalists, maybe, however many you want to, and then you're going to set up interviews and have them give presentations. So it'll be an RFQ. There really won't be any cost involved with that to begin with, because what you're doing is you're looking at firms' qualifications, what their background is, what their experience is, what their, who they have on board, do they have project management experience? What projects have they done? All that kind of stuff. So that's again, that's going to be the first step here. It's not going to be an RFP where they give you $1. This is how much it's going to cost you. It's going to be an RFQ where you're going to look at, like I said, qualifications for different firms, come up with a short list, and then invite them to do presentations.
Right. So, thanks, Bob, for that clarification here, because you're absolutely right. I've been down this road, as some of you have also been down this road before. I was involved in I was actually vice chair of the building committee for the middle school in Colchester, and what Bob just outlined is exactly what we did. It wasn't until after we had seen all the presentations and ranked all of the firms that we had invited in, it was only then that we opened the envelopes that saw what their fee was going to be. That's exactly right. So if the motion needs to be amended to be an RFQ instead of an RFP, then I'll make that amendment.
I'll deem that a friendly amendment, though.
Okay.
Who was the seconder on that?
Heather Romansky.
Heather, do you
Yes.
agree? Okay.
Yep.
All right, that's fine. Any other discussion on the motion for an RFQ? Hearing none, let's, all in favor signify by saying aye, or raise your hand or something, so I can
Aye.
hit the
Aye.
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 Mr. Chairman, if I may.
You want to do a roll call?
Yeah, we received direction from City Manager's office that all votes have to be by roll call.
All right, give me a minute. Let me grab the list.
Okay.
Well, I can. Let me see if I can just wing it. Hang on.
Mark, I have a list in front of me.
Okay, good. Tell you what, Stacy, why don't you call the roll then?
Have Stacy call the roll.
That's it. Stacy can call the roll.
Just like old.
Okay. Mark Betancourt,
Yes.
Joe DeLucia,
Yes.
William Hull,
Aye. Yes.
Gerald Martin,
Yes.
Greg Balassi,
Yes.
Peter Gauthier,
Yes.
Heather Romansky,
Yes.
Christine DeStacio,
Yes.
Greg Carabine,
Yes.
Kristen Talley,
Yes.
Stacy Gould votes yes.
All right, so it sounds like we have a unanimous vote. Yay.
Thank you, everyone.
All right, thank you, Joe. We do have, there are plenty of existing examples regarding architect RFPs. I don't think that's going to be too difficult a thing to put together. What say you, Bob?
I'd say that's kind of how I do all my plagiarism's a great thing in my world. And what I can also do is I belong to the Public Purchasing Managers Association of Connecticut, and I can go out and also see if anybody's done a recent RFQ for this type of thing, and hopefully get somebody, because the only problem with going out and looking for other ones is a lot of times they won't be from Connecticut, so there'll be good stuff to use from it, but it won't be.
Yeah, there've been quite a few building projects here in Connecticut in the last 10, 15 years.
Absolutely. So that's what I would do.
Yeah. So I ran into quite a few things. So so I'm sure we won't have too much of an issue with that. All right. So it seems we have some direction here. This may be a quick meeting, folks, because until we get this squared away, there's not a lot to talk about probably. Does anyone else have anything to bring before the committee? All right. So as far as I'm concerned, there's nothing else for the evening. So unless you want to sit here and listen to me drone on, I could do a comedy routine or something else. But people laugh enough at me as it is.
I'll go out to dinner.
Tia brought chili home from the shop, so I'm like, I'm done. I'm golden.
I'm gonna plan these Tuesdays better.
Yeah, amen. There you go. I was worried about yesterday was my bad day because I had to go into work. I ran from work to the informational to the council meeting. I didn't get home till 10 o'clock. So that's the way it goes. All right. So motion adjourned, I think, would be in order. Anyone?
So moved.
Just
Heather
one thing.
Romansky, motion to adjourn.
Heather, and I heard Stacy's voice chime in there.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
For a
In
second.
the last email that was sent out
Yep.
from Catherine, I believe, it says the school built at the bottom of the email. Listed the next meeting date is December 15th at 6 o'clock.
Oh.
Say it should be
Okay.
6:30.
And I believe it should be
Mark, that's
6:30, so.
When you set them up originally, you just had it so the room opened at 6, but
Yeah, no, the room opens. That's the Zoom meeting. I set that up so the room opens at 6 o'clock.
Oh, okay, all right,
Posted agenda isn't until 6:30.
okay.
Okay.
So I usually try to get into the room early and do whatever and shoot the BS just like we would if we were meeting, in real life, so. But and chat or whatever. So so with that said, I did hear a motion to adjourn in a second. Are you seconding the motion, Stacy?
Yes.
Yes, okay. The motion to adjourn, yes. So all in favor? Aye.
Wait.
Any opposed? Seeing none, we are adjourned at 7:22 p.m. God bless you, everybody. Have a great month, and then have a happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you, everyone. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.